Welcome, everybody. I am so excited about today. I cannot tell you how long I have waited to do this. So, if you are new to my world, I am Brittany Ford. I am a registered holistic nutritionist. I am board certified in longevity medicine and peptide therapy. I have been in the biohacking space for about 8 years. I've been in the health and wellness space for probably 15 years after my own health struggles. And when I started going down the rabbit hole of peptides, I knew, I can't even tell you this, I knew deep in my heart that I was going to create something for moms. It was like this little voice in my head that said, moms need this more than anybody. And I, did all these different things that I've done and all the education and experience. And then I was like, I'm ready. I'm ready to talk to the moms about longevity and peptides. And as a mom myself, this is so special to me. So even if you take nothing else away from this, please know that if you are a mom going through the thick of it right now, I have been there. You are not alone. And there are certain modalities you can use, like we're going to talk about today, that can really actually help you a lot. And so I'm going to dive into a bunch of them, including peptides. So welcome. This is Rewritten by Motherhood, a Longevity and Peptides Masterclass. And I am just like so thrilled to do this. And yeah, it's just so special. Okay. So we're going to talk a lot about the reality of motherhood. And I'm going to share some of my own personal experiences because I want to be very real with you. And I know every single woman who's watching this, whether you're here live on the call, which is amazing, or you're watching the replay, I know you've probably been through your own struggles as a mother. So I have a toddler. This is Callahan, and he is incredible. And the journey with him has been interesting. I had a C-section birth that was unplanned. We found out he was breech in the last week of my pregnancy, and my whole team of midwives that I had actually, how do I say this, disassembled last minute. So I actually had new people supporting me in birth. And the community that I'm in actually doesn't support home births for breech. And so I had to go to a hospital. Basically, everything that I had planned from the get-go didn't work, didn't go to plan, essentially. And so the trauma that I had from that was really what kicked off changing the way I view health and wellness and longevity. And everything I knew about how to be healthy kind of went out the window when I had my kid. Now, mind you, there were foundations that I pulled back on and experience and education, but I still had to really change the way that I was thinking about things. And when I was when I was putting this together today, I thought to myself, how many women on this call, how many mothers on this call are not only carrying their children, but are actually carrying so much more than that. So you carry your kids, your spouse, if you have one, your work, if you work outside the home, you might carry your own parents as well. And when I say carry, what I mean by that is that there is a lot of responsibility, organization, mental load that comes with those different things that you might carry. And then usually what's last is yourself. And moms, I think we hear this a lot. Moms are so sacrificial, right? We like to sacrifice ourselves. Oh, I'm not going to actually buy these new clothes for me. I'm going to spend the money on my kids instead. This is like just one example, right? But when we talk about our health, that actually has a very long-term effect when we make those decisions again and again. And so this statistic here I found very interesting. 54% of women in their 40s are raising a child and caring for an aging parent at the same time. So for me, and if you can relate in the chat, please put this in the chat. I should have said earlier, but we will do all questions at the end of this. So, small questions, silly questions, any questions that you have, I will answer at the end. My parents actually split up when I was a teenager, and it was a lot on me and my brothers. And from a very young age, I had to carry them and support them. And that looked like financially, emotionally, psychologically, physically at times. And there was a lot of sacrifice even in that. And so when I saw the statistic, it's like, yeah, I understand that over half of women in their 40s might be carrying their parents, but there is a lot of younger women as well, or women who have been through difficult times with their parents that are also doing that. And the point of that is that you, as a mom sitting in this room right now, or you're watching the replay, you are doing a lot. You have a lot of balls in the air. And I understand that. I understand the feeling of how do I keep everything going? How do I keep juggling everything without overwhelm and stress and without snapping at my partner at the end of the day or binge watching whatever reality TV is on or scrolling on my phone? And so, really, what can we do to help us carry everything stronger? And when I talk about longevity, and even when specifically peptides, I don't want you to think, oh, this is another thing I need to carry. Oh, this is another thing I need to manage, because it's not. The reality is when you invest in your health, the time, energy, and money into yourself, it actually helps you carry everything stronger. You're reinforcing the ability to do that. You're also making yourself healthier for a longer time, like a longer period of time. And so when your kids are older, that means that they don't necessarily need to carry you. So my motivation from a very young age, even though I had health issues, was also this whole underlying of I want to be as healthy as I can be for as long as I can be so that my kid actually doesn't need to support me like I had to support my parents. And I'm sharing that with you because it's very real and very raw. And a lot of the time when we see people who are in health leadership spaces or places, it's because they have this like wound that they're healing. And I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling as well. So, longevity is what lets you keep carrying everybody. I don't want you to think, oh my gosh, this is something else I need to do. Motherhood, good. I'm so glad that this hits home for you. So, I did really want to be really personable on this call because I didn't want to, you know, hit you with a bunch of scientific facts about peptides because you can find that information anywhere. The reality is like, why do mothers need them? And how does it impact our life for the better? And that reality is like most moms are carrying a lot, a lot. Motherhood did not break you, it rewrote you. And I think a lot of us feel this of like the bounce back culture is absolute garbage. And I think a lot of women are finally no longer subscribing to that idea. And when I actually thought about this whole idea of bounce back, I was like, I don't want to bounce back to who I was before I had my kid. I was selfish. I I didn't really understand I didn't understand the ability to have so much more purpose and fulfillment in life until I became a mother, and it really did make me see everything differently. The other thing that I went through when I became a mother, other than the trauma from birth and healing through that, was I actually went through a lot of postpartum anxiety. And I didn't realize that I had this level of anxiety actually until I started taking peptides, which I'll get to in a second. But I had like intrusive thoughts. I had over worry or too much worry all the time. And then I found this stat that 1 in 5 face a postpartum mood or anxiety disorder, and most women are left alone to deal with that. Up to half are never diagnosed. I think there's a lot of talk about postpartum depression, and a lot of it even gets dismissed as baby blues. But the reality is postpartum now can even be up to 7 years past when you had your last child. Because for some women, that's how long it takes to restore the body to the levels of like the hormonal balances or the levels of the nutrients in your body since you had your kid. Which means that even though, you might have a 4-year-old at home, you might still actually be dealing with some sort of postpartum symptoms or signs or issues or concerns that you're having, and that's valid. And it's okay that you're still feeling that. And even now, my son is, what is he? He's almost 2. And I feel even weird now being like, oh, I'm postpartum. But in my head and everything I've studied, I'm like, no, I am still postpartum. Like my body is still recovering from everything that happened. If any of this feels like you, actually type 1 in the chat if you have not felt like yourself since becoming a mom. You don't need to add anything else. I just want to know, do you feel like yourself right now since you've become a mom? Or do you feel like, man, it's been a while? So type 1 if you have not felt like yourself since becoming a mom. And that's hard. And I get it. I get it. Yeah, the mental load of having a kid or multiple kids is significant. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 4 kids, work night shifts, only to be there for them, et cetera, et cetera. My health is last and it can't be anymore. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The more we put our health last, the harder it is to actually show up for everybody that we love and for ourselves. And so the question becomes is, how do we invest in our health and have the ability to make healthy decisions every day in an easy way that's manageable? It doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming and now I'm on this diet and now I'm doing that, right? Like, how do we actually make this work? So before we get into peptides, I want to start with the 4 foundations, or technically 3 foundations built for the mother's body. It would be a disservice to you if I were to just sit here and talk to you about peptides without talking about these first. Foundations are actually what makes peptides work better. It makes you be able to get the most out of them if you are deciding, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I am going to order these peptides. So let's start with nutrition. As a nutritionist, I'm a little biased, but this is so, so important. And I'm not going to necessarily talk about diets, but I do want to touch on protein. I think protein is really having its moment right now on social media, which is great. But I want you to seriously think about how much protein that you're having in your diet right now. Like even today, I don't know, it depends where you are. If you're on the East Coast, the West Coast, maybe it's 1:15, maybe it's in the morning. How much protein have you had so far today? Like, do you actually know how many grams you've had ish, roughly? Protein is so, so important. And my recommendation typically with protein is about 1 gram per ideal pound of body weight. So, for example, if you want to be, you know, if you're trying to lose weight or body composition, recomposition, and the goal is 140 pounds, you would want to be aiming for 140 grams of protein per day. That is honestly more than most women are having. Most women kind of sit around 70, 80 grams and they think, oh, this is probably fine. But the reality is the more protein we have, the better our peptides work, actually. But the better so many things work in our bodies. Proteins are made out of amino acids, and they play a significant role in everything that we do. So what this actually looks like, just to give you a practical example, is if in the morning you have 2 eggs, it's about 12 grams of protein, and then you have a coffee with protein powder added to it and milk. Say if it's whey protein, that's about 30 grams, a little bit of milk, 32 grams. You're looking at about 44, 46 grams of protein in the morning, just with that combination right there. Ideally, we want to hit about 60 grams of protein in the morning. And when I work with clients, what actually we notice is that the women who are tired in the afternoons, so if you are, that 2 p.m. person who's like grabbing the donut or the cookie or the extra coffee, whatever it might be, if you start your morning with way more protein than you think, by the time you actually hit the afternoon, you have way less of a crash. And protein does that. It helps us stabilize blood sugar. So we're not going like this all the time, craving the high carbohydrate foods and then allowing it to kind of drop down. We get irritable, we get tired. So then we eat something super high carby again. And it's like this all day. So that is why, just one example of like why protein is so, so important. Blood sugar is what I mentioned, methylated folate. This is, super important for mothers, especially if you're planning to have more children. You can get tested if you have the MTHFR, one of the gene mutations, which I do. So that's why I'm so aware of it. Making sure that you are getting enough of these micronutrients like vitamins and minerals to really support your body. In practical terms, that looks like a very diverse diet. So lots of different vegetables, lots of different fruit, seeds, nuts, like just kind of rotating things, not necessarily buying the same bananas, strawberries, and avocados every week, but actually like buying a kiwi, I don't know, buying a vegetable maybe you've never heard of and like learning how to cook it. That is a very, very easy way to get more nutrients in. Of course, there's supplements as well. We're not going to dive too much into supplements today because that's a whole rabbit hole. But that is kind of like my recommendation as an easy, easy place to start. And then we talk about lifestyle. Lifestyle is arguably probably the most important thing that will impact your health and longevity long term. Lifestyle includes sleep, stress management, light exposure, and circadian light and the nervous system and how that all connects. Our lifestyle is interesting because there's so much you can actually do for free. And as much as it's like fun to buy all the biohacking gadgets and gear, and I have so much of it, the best biohacks are free. And what this looks like is in the morning, getting outside and going for a walk and getting sunlight first thing, taking your kids with you, putting them in the strollers, or maybe going for a walk after you drop them off at school or whatever it might look like. Getting that sunshine in early in the day, getting that cortisol up. When we have high cortisol in the morning, that's exactly what we want. So cortisol is the stress hormone most people know about, right? And people think it's easy to think, oh, we don't want a lot of that hormone. It's bad. It's stress, right? But the reality is we actually want cortisol to be high at night, high in the morning and low at night. When we have this, this is called the cortisol curve. We feel energetic when we wake up in the morning. We get out of bed. You don't have to hit the snooze alarm clock 3 times. You don't have to reach for 5 cups of coffee. You actually are like, wow, okay, I'm ready for the day. And then by the time nighttime comes, it's dropped off and you're slow and you're tired and you fall asleep easy. If that is you right now, please put it in the chat. Amazing. That means your circadian rhythm and your cortisol curve is exactly what it should be doing. Sometimes we see the opposite. So it's inverse. In the morning, you wake up, you're super sluggish, and it's hard to get out of bed. And you hit your alarm clock 3 times, and you're lying in bed and you're texting and you're just debating if you should get up or not. And then your kids come into your room and you're like forced to get out of bed. Um, then you reach for the coffee and then the stimulants and then maybe the processed food and all these things just to get through that. By the end of the day, maybe your kids go to bed and suddenly you have a surge of energy. This means your cortisol curve, your circadian rhythm is flipped. It's opposite. And that's not what we want because then it's hard for you to go to sleep, right? And then you don't go to bed till after midnight. And then the next day it starts again because it's hard to get up in the morning because you went to bed late, et cetera, et cetera. The last thing that this actually can be related to, and I definitely know some moms who are going through this, is sorry, I'm just going to delete that. Your entire circadian rhythm and your curve can be flatlined. This means that you never really feel energetic. You never feel a difference in it. And it just kind of feels like meh all day, every day. Luckily, there's a lot we can do here to fix this. And luckily, yes, flatlined for sure. It is fixable. So you can fix this through light exposure, right? So a lot of light in the morning, less light at night. And you can create a whole sleep architecture, a beautiful sleep environment to help with that. But there is a lot you can do there in terms of lifestyle. The other thing here with lifestyle is stress. Talking to moms about stress just feels like, I mean, yeah, I get it. There's no way I'm going to sit here and be like, don't be stressed. That's ridiculous to tell you. You are doing so much every single day. You lie in bed the moment you wake up and you open your eyes, you're on. and then you're just on until you go to sleep. It doesn't ever end. And I understand. And so I understand how stressful that can be. There are tools that you can actually bring to help with that stress and help to manage it and help you to feel like you have more capacity. It's not necessarily that there's going to be less demands, but things like peptides can actually help you hold all of that better and help you manage the stress better. And not only peptides, there's a lot of things for this. Like exercise is amazing. Making sure you're hydrated enough is huge. Enough minerals, enough salt is really important. Enough nutrition, enough time for you, time for mom. There are like a lot of things for this stress management piece. Biohacking is, this third foundation. And this is like one of my favorite things to talk about. I think I've probably tried every single biohack there is, trendy or not trendy. And, you know, my favorite is a sauna. We bought a sauna a couple years ago, and it was the best thing we invested in. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. There are these tools like a sauna or a cold plunge that can be used to help you depending on what you're going through. If it's stress management or low energy, there are different biohacks that can be more of an advanced tool that you can bring in to support you. And I'm happy to answer any questions about that. There's so many to even talk about. Like it's a little like kid in a candy shop. Like what do we want to talk about here? And I also put strength down for it underneath biohacking. It's probably should be underneath lifestyle, but you know, physical exercise, working out, lifting heavy is so important for your longevity. Right now, I lift heavier than I have ever lifted before, I think. Yeah. And I just did a DEXA scan actually and took a look at my bone density, my bone mineral density, and my muscles. This is so, so important. It cannot be understated. The impact of how much lean muscle mass you have and how minerally rich your bones are as you get older. What this means practically is that when you're 60 or 70, probably 70, 80 is more likely, if you fall down and you fall on your hip, does your hip break or not? And when people like hear me talk about this, they go, "Oh my gosh, why are you worrying about that now? Like you have so much time." But the thing is bone mineral density decreases decade after decade. So does muscle mass. It gets harder and harder to keep it at optimal levels. So if you can instill these healthy habits now, you're kind of instilling them for life so that you can continue doing those healthy habits as you get older. Not to mention perimenopause and menopause and the effect that that actually has on muscle and bone with the relation of dropping estrogen and what that means. So please lift some weights. We love Pilates. I get it. There's something to be said about flexibility and mobility. Absolutely. But in conjunction with lifting weights so that you are building that bone density and muscle. Okay, now let's get into the peptides. I'm going to answer your questions in a little bit here. So much to say, and where do we really want to begin? I think what is so important to start with is that so much of what you see online about peptides is for men, or the research has been done on male species. So much of peptides comes from gym culture and bros who want to be shredded and have 8 packs and 12 packs and bench this amount. And, when I started getting into peptides, I actually looked at my podcast. My podcast, the first episode I did on peptides was from 2021. And I remember hearing about it and being like, what? No. Are these that good? I don't know. And at that time, it felt like, oh, this is gym bro culture. There's no space for me here. And then it's gotten so much easier, in the last couple of years. Peptides are kind of everywhere right now. And I started going and looking at it and thinking, how can this be helpful for women? And how can this be helpful for moms? My personal opinion is that moms are arguably the most deserving population for peptides. Like they are the most deserving. like moms do so much every single day. You carry so much. Peptides are incredible for mothers. And I just wish more people were talking about it. And so we are really going to get into it now. So I'm gonna kind of talk to you about my experience with peptides. So the first one I want to talk about, I actually have it here. This is a new one I was just taking. Oh, can you guys see that? There you go. Is C-Lank. So C-Lank is the one in the middle here. And when I previously said I went through postpartum anxiety and I didn't realize how bad it was, I didn't realize how bad it was until I started C-Lank. And within a week or two, I was more grounded than I had been in a very long time. I felt like when my anxiety would kind of kick up, it felt like butterflies in my stomach, but not in a good way or intrusive thoughts. And C-Lank actually helped to just bring me down and make me feel grounded and calm and reassured. And there's nothing else I've ever done that has made me feel like that. Some people take a peptide like C-Lank and they don't feel any difference. I felt a big difference with it. My husband actually takes it as well for work, and he loves it so, so much. You can take it nasally through like a spray or the drops that I just showed you, or you can take it subcutaneously, like through a syringe injection. This is the one that I would say probably changed my life. I think peptides have changed my life in general, but C-Link has changed my life so significantly. Yeah. And I wish I had started it earlier postpartum. Yeah. Knowing what I know now, wow, it would have changed so much for me. And so if you are listening to this call and you are going through any type of anxiety or stress, this is the one for you. Like, seriously, just write that down. And, you can obviously join my program and things like that, but this will help you. It will seriously, seriously help you to feel better. And the beautiful thing about C-Lank is that I took it every day. I took it 5 days on, 2 days off for 6 weeks. And then I stopped because I actually just ran out. And I haven't ordered it since. Like, I have this new one that just came. So I took about a month off and I didn't need it. And that's what's really interesting about peptides is you can take them for the specific cycle that they are designed for. And once that cycle is done, it doesn't mean you have to start it up again. It doesn't mean you have to take them for forever. Like, I was so surprised in that month of like, wow, I just don't feel the need for it. And now what I do is I have it as kind of like if I need it on odd times, I just keep it in my fridge and then I'll take it. I'm not taking it every single day. Mont C here, or this way, there we go. Mont C here is my favorite peptide for energy. I started this quite a while ago and it is a mitochondrial peptide. So, a mitochondrial peptide basically means that it helps all the mitochondria in your cells produce more energy. And we have a lot of mitochondria in our bodies, especially as women. The most mitochondrial dense organs are the brain, the heart, and then your ovaries. In the egg cells in your ovaries, there are over 100,000 mitochondria per cell. That is insane. So when you take something that increases the energy in the output of what those mitochondria are doing, think about how many mitochondria are in your body. Mod C was incredible. I noticed a big difference in my energy. It's also great for metabolism. So this is one where you can see a difference in your body composition or weight without having to do a GLP-1 or something more that has more, don't want to say systemic, but is just more intense of a peptide. So MOTS-C is what I actually recommend to my clients who are early postpartum days. And by early, I should say like 6 months postpartum is what I mean by that. And yeah, that's typically where I like to start women on MOTS-C. Great for energy, and you will definitely notice the difference. This is one that you actually do want to cycle on and off. So what the recommendation here is, let's say 8 to 12 weeks on and then about 4 weeks off. It also sometimes can have some people get a bit of a reaction on your skin. And so they'll stop taking it and then come back. The last one I put on this slide is the GHKCU peptide. I think this is probably one of the most well-known peptides out there. It's known as the beauty peptide. It's incredible for hair, skin, and nails. GHKCU is a copper peptide, and it is one that you can kind of actually take continuously as long as you are not taking too much every single day. There is a bit of a cap on it from what the research has shown. So when I started taking this, I first noticed a difference in my nails. So my nails started growing really fast, and which I didn't really care about, to be honest. It was like more for my skin and my hair. And then I started noticing a difference in my skin about 2 months into it. So if you are dealing with any type of skin changes postpartum, or maybe, 10 years, you have 3 kids and they're older and whatnot, and your skin hasn't looked the same, it's not glowing, this is the one for you. You have to give it time though. GHKCU is not something that you will notice a difference within a week or two. Absolutely not. I didn't notice a difference in my skin until about 2 months later. The differences that I saw was better texture. So like just smoother, less bumpiness. And then I think long term, it helps with like fine lines and that type of thing as well. And then hair as well. I think postpartum hair loss, or even if you had, hair loss around perimenopause or menopause, GHKC can be very helpful for that. And there are shampoos now, and there's conditioners, and, there's all these topical products as well. I have it's not with me, it's in my bathroom. I have a peptide serum that I've created for myself, and it has this in it, and it's really cool. It's like blue. How does GHKCU work? Yeah, exactly. So that's exactly what we're talking about right now. It is a copper peptide in the body. It works on your hair, skin, and nails. And this is one that you can take topically. You can inject it as well and get all of the benefits there. When you take it topically, I would say that the benefits aren't as significant as taking it if you were to inject it. Anytime you take anything subcutaneously, it is more of a systemic effect. When you take it topically, it's just kind of like sitting in the layer. So this stat here, 80% of early drug safety research is run on male animals only. And what is important to know here, and I think a lot of people know this now, is women were actually kept out of scientific research until 1993. So that was 33 years ago. We are still playing catch up right now. So even when we look at decades ago that there is peptide research from there, of course it was only done on male species. But even now, like we're still not at a place where women are included or female species are included if it is an animal study. And that's typically because of the complicated hormonal transitions that women go through, whether it's your menstrual cycle or perimenopause or menopause. So I want to know in the chat, what do you want help with the most? This is my favorite question to ask people. Like, picture it's 90 days from now. And so what would that be? June to July, August, September, right? 90 days from now, 3 months from now, end of August. What is the one thing that you would want to be better in terms of your health? What is the one thing you'd want to improve? I'd love for you to put this in the chat, even if it's just one word, like energy, calmer, more grounded, healthier skin, hair. I mean, there's so many. It could even be, oh my gosh, like it could be you want to performance, like at your work, or it could be libido, or it could be fertility. Like there's so many different ones. So I'm just going to read some of these out because I think it is so important. So mood, insulin resistance, and calmer, grounded, mental health and energy. I'm 1 year postpartum. Yeah, I got it. Anxiety, rage, weight loss, gains, lead muscle growth. Hair and skin, energy, flat stomach, more hair, tighter skin, more energy, balance, insulin, lose weight, libido, hair, skin. Yeah. Weight management. You see, like, what's interesting in doing this exercise is you see how so many of us are actually going through the same thing. Like, we all kind of want the same thing. Like, so many of these are, you guys are saying the same thing: muscle gain, hair, drive, lymphatic system, flat stomach, healthier skin and energy. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so when we think about peptides, there's kind of a peptide for everything. Most things, actually. Muscle gain is the one that's a little tricky because that's more of a hormone replacement therapy type of idea there. But you could look at it from a sense of, how do I increase my energy so that I have more energy for my workouts that can help me have more muscle? So there are different ways that you can kind of look at this, but there are a lot of peptides for a lot of different things. Absolutely. And we're only like just scratching the surface. We are only scratching the surface, which is very cool to see. Did I miss anyone's weight management, perimenopause symptoms? Yes. Anyone else? Had a menopause baby and haven't quite felt the same since. Still playing catch up with energy, skin, and the meno belly. Yeah. Metabolic stability. Yeah, I understand. I get that. Yeah, even still, like yeah, the post baby, I don't know what you want to call it, but like the post baby weight, the post baby belly, it's one of those things where it's hard because you love yourself and you love your kid and you are proud of what your body has been through. And at the same time, you would love for it to potentially look a different way or be improved in your eyes. And I think it's okay to feel both of those things. I feel both of those things. Like, I'm so proud of everything my body has done. And I'm still like, wow, I would just love it to be kind of like this as well. And I think we really need to give ourselves grace. Like everything that you guys said here, I think you really need to give yourself grace. And it's okay to want these things for yourself. Metabolic stability. Yeah. So this is, where's my place here? This is my mother's protocol. I wanted to put together a space where every single one of you would be seen and heard and felt like, wow, I finally got the answers that I was looking for. I've created this program and I want to take you from depleted, if that's how you're feeling, to alive, because that's honestly what peptides have done for me. I've taken a bunch of different ones. I've tried different things. And who I am sitting today versus who I was 3 months ago, 6 months ago, and more, completely different. So this, and you can see this is a screenshot. This is just what it looks like inside my community. This is so special to my heart because moms need so much support. And you need support from a mom. Like when I don't know if you guys feel like this. When I listen to other podcasts about peptides and it's two really jacked gym bros talking about peptides for women or what moms should take, I just cringe inside because how would they know? How would they know what it feels like to have a postpartum body that you don't recognize, that you're proud of, and you would still like it to be stronger? How do they know what it feels like to have your hair fall out in the shower all the time and wonder, oh my gosh, is this going to grow back or is this kind of it? And so I wanted to create this space where you felt like you had someone you could lean on and support and who's been through it and who gets it. So everything, there we go. Everything inside my mother's protocol, I am doing 12 weekly live calls. So this is a 90-day program. It is 3 months. Every week we are going to meet. Every Tuesday, if you can't come, replays are posted. And I'm going to show you the schedule of my calls in a second. I am so excited about this because this is exactly what I needed. Oh my gosh, I needed this last summer. I needed it the summer before. This is literally will take you from A to B, from feeling like overwhelmed by peptides and longevity to I have a stack, I'm taking them, I feel amazing. I feel like myself again. So those 12 weekly live group calls are Tuesdays at 12. And the first one we are doing is going to be building your own peptide stack. And I'm going to teach you exactly how to do that. So what that means is we're going to go through what your goals are, what your life stage is, and then put together a stack of, you know, 3 to 5 peptides that will help get you there. I'm going to show you how to do it, dosing, all of it. I can also show you, I will show you, I have it with me here today, like how to reconstitute it, how to mix everything, all the technical things as well. And I review every single protocol. It includes 90 days inside my community, which, I just showed you here. That's the home base, that's the hub. That is where all my peptide information is. So I have lessons on every single peptide, on every single goal. So all of the goals you guys said are actually in there. So you can just go and click and say, okay, my goal is metabolism. I'm going to go and click and, oh, here is the basics. Here's the basic stack of peptides. Here are the advanced ones, the dosages, and exactly where to buy them and how to buy them, depending on where you live. We have our private discussion feed, which is what I answer daily. And this is where you can put all your questions, your experience, how you're feeling, and what might be working for you, what might not be working for you. I created the Mother's Protocol Playbook, and this is a 41-page companion, and it's got so many cheat sheets in it, which is incredible. Basically, things to help you understand the foundations, which we kind of talked about, and also understand peptides. I'm doing a transformation tracker, which I've done before, and this is a very quick, like 10-question survey. It's multiple choice, and you rate and no one else sees this, by the way. You rate all of your symptoms at week 1, week 6, week 12, and then I send you the results. And women are floored by this every single time. The emails I get back is like so nice and amazing because they go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I felt like that in week 1. Like I can't believe I can't believe I was at a 2 for energy and now I'm at a 7 in only 3 months. Weekly resources, these are, my newsletters that go out with recipes and biohacks and tips and things like that. And then the Her Stack Planner, I actually have it here, is included for free. I know oh, it's not showing it. That's interesting. There you go. This is my Her Stack digital peptide planner. I printed mine and it's included for free. You guys can download the digital copy. I am making a physical version of this, by the way, and which I'm so excited about. And it hopefully will launch. I'm hoping it's going to launch this summer, but it's beautiful. It's like an actual nice bounded linen fabric planner for 3 months so that you can keep track of every single peptide you take, how much, dosing, all of that. I want to show you this schedule that is the weekly schedule for our calls. When I wrote this out, I thought, what do women need to talk about? What do they want to learn? Of course, we're going to talk about peptides. Of course, we're going to make your protocol. I'm going to help you with all of that. Absolutely. But what else? And so week 1, I already talked about. Week 2, I touched on the protein question. Week 3, supplements for mothers and what to stop wasting your money on. Very interesting. There's so many supplement brands now. Which ones are actually great and which ones are kind of just garbage. Week 4, sleep when sleep is not an option. Again, this is tiered towards mothers. If you are co-sleeping, if you have a baby who's waking you up in the middle of the night, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, sleep when the baby sleeps or just go to bed earlier. The reality is so many health recommendations need to actually be tailored differently from others. And so sleep is a big one for that. Of even if you're waking up in the middle of the night, how can we help you get better sleep? Week 5, eating for longevity, not just bouncing back. Week 6, stress tools for the mother whose nervous system is stuck on. When I tell you I needed this call for the last year and a half of my life, whew. Week 7, hot, cold, and red light therapy for mothers who do not have an hour. Again, back to the whole thing of biohacks of, Brian Johnson, who has his 3-hour morning routine. And you're just like, wait a minute, but my kids are up at 7 and I have to get them to school by 8. So how do I fit that in, right? Like, let's be real here. What can you actually do with the time that you have? What is the best bang for your buck? What moves the needle the most for you? Week 8, movement and strength training for the mother's body. Week 9, hair, skin, and the visible mother. We want you glowing. We want you looking good and feeling good. Week 10, advanced peptides and bioregulators for women. 11, hormone cycle tracking and what your labs should show. Very interesting. Labs are super important, and we will be diving into that. And week 12, your maintenance protocol and what's next. So this is the most comprehensive, I don't want to say curriculum, but comprehensive schedule of calls that I could put together that was like, this is going to help women the most. And this is going to help mothers the most. Yeah, in the US, and peptides are crazy expensive. Yeah, we can talk about that in a second here. Okay, so the mother's protocol, and I'm going to talk about your gift here in a second. $14.97 US for the 3 months, or $525 monthly. And it includes everything I just talked about and the live bonus. And we're starting on Monday, which is like 4 days from now. And this is running for the summer. And enrollment closes on Sunday. Now, I want to just preface this. So when I was creating this, I was thinking, for the women who are live on this call, what is the bonus that they need? What do women need the most? What do mothers need the most? I'm just going to put the program link here in the chat for you guys so you guys can take a look at this. I lost you. There you go. There's the program link. And so this is my bonus to only the women who have come live today. I am doing private 30-minute one-on-ones with me that includes a protocol. So what this means, just so you know, is that you and I are going to sit down for 30 minutes and we are going to talk about your health. And I'm going to create a full holistic protocol that includes peptides for you and will be sent to you. Because I know there are mothers who are on this call who are thinking, Brittany, can you just do it for me? I don't want to necessarily figure out which peptides to take and how much to take and where to get them from. Can you just send me a protocol for me? And then I'll order them and then I'll start with some other healthy foundational habits as well. And I was like, yeah, that's what they need. So, when I work with clients one-on-one, this is typically 60 minutes, but this is for 30 minutes for only the women who are live here today. So this isn't going anywhere else. This is not going to my website. This is not going on social media. This is literally for the women who are here right now. We will be meeting next week. So that ability to give you such a strong kickoff is so exciting and will move the needle and help you so much. Like so much, because you'll be able to tell me exactly what you're going through, exactly the life stage that you're in, your goals for the next 3 months. And I will be able to tell you, okay, this is what I think you should take. This is how much. Let's order it. Here, maybe you need these supplements as well, maybe some tweaks to your diet, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And you're off to the races. So this is your reason to act now. This is expiring at the end of the week on Sunday. Okay, so now I want to open up to you guys. I know there were comments I think I missed in the chat. Let's talk questions. You can ask me anything. There is no question that might seem like silly or stupid or anything like that. Absolutely not. You can ask me anything and I will do the best I can to answer them. I did get a couple of questions that I want to answer from emails that I sent. And so we're going to start with those first if no one has a question right now in the chat. Okay. Any limitations of still breastfeeding? Okay, how to book the 30-minute one-on-one. That you get that when you sign up for the program. That's your bonus for being live right now. You get that. So essentially how that works is I will have a list of every single name who is here right now. And when you sign up for the Mother's Protocol program, I will see that you were live on this call and I will send you the email to book the Calendly private client client call with me for next week. Okay. First question, any limitations of breastfeeding? Yes. The amount of times I get questioned about this is crazy. I probably get this question every few days. And this was one of the questions that came through email. So Breastfeeding. Okay. I breastfed my kid for 19 months, so I understand. There is no data that shows the safety or the harm of peptides during breastfeeding. There is no clinical data. There is no theoretical data. There is there is nothing. And there will never be anything because there will never be a reason for anybody to fund studies that look at if peptides are passed through breast milk to your child. It doesn't make sense for any company to spend money on that. Why would they do that? Like the legal recommendations around that would be just so significant. It's same with if you ever make a product for a baby. There's so much around that there's no point in really doing that. So that being said, I know mothers who are taking peptides and I know mothers who and are breastfeeding and I know mothers who have decided to wait. I think it goes both ways here. My recommendations typically, and of course, this is educational advice only and not medical advice, is that I would look at where you are in your breastfeeding journey. So if you are in the first 6 months and your baby is still mostly relying on you for nourishment, I would not do anything. I would really caution on taking anything at that time. Now, you can do topical peptides, right? Like we talked about GHKCU. I think that's fine for copper for your skin or for your hair. And yeah, that's kind of like all I would kind of do in that time period. After that, once your kid starts eating solids and, maybe we're looking at 9 months, maybe we're looking at 12 months postpartum and onwards, that's a bit of a different story. Every woman gets to decide for herself if she wants to take on the risk. You could do something like nasal peptides that have less of a systemic effect. You could do something like oral peptides, right? So, like BPC 157, you can get orally, or KPV, you can take orally, and this can help as well. Depends on the health issues that you're dealing with. They're not as effective as they are if you take them subcutaneously, but they still will have an effect. Once I think you get to a point where, say, you're breastfeeding once a day or like once every 24 hours, if you are willing to if you understand that there is no data that shows the harm or safety and you are willing to try it, I know women who are doing that. I also know mothers who are microdosing psilocybin while breastfeeding because they need the support for their mental health. And that is a personal decision that they are making. So that is like really the reframe I try to every time I answer this question is it's up to the mom. It's very, very individual. Pregnancy is a different situation. I would not mess around during pregnancy for obvious reasons. Breastfeeding is a very individual situation. The other thing I want to say about breastfeeding is that looking back on my own personal journey, I would have taken peptides earlier. Absolutely. Knowing how effective they have been for me and how much benefit I've gotten, how much more I feel like myself, I 100% would have started taking them earlier. So I hope that kind of helps and gives you kind of like a idea of the landscape. Okay. We talked about that. Talked about that. What do you know about Retta? Quite a bit. Retatrutide is a GLP-3, as they call it. It is a GLP-1, GIP, and it works on glucagon as well. Retta is in phase 2 clinical trials right now to be approved soon by the FDA. My thoughts on retatrutide is that I think by next summer, it will be at the level roughly of where Ozempic is now, or maybe like where Ozempic was a year ago. I think it's going to get approved through the remaining clinical trials. I think the price is going to skyrocket the moment that happens. And then I think it's going to be made into a Ozempic or a name branded peptide by Eli Lilly in the States, and it's going to be very expensive to get it. It is, and I've tried Retta. It is very powerful and not something necessarily to mess around with, but it is very effective, yes, for weight management, weight loss, and body composition. What do you think about creatine? Creatine and L-carnitine. I'm just going to answer this other question first. Where do you get your peptides? So in my community, there is a whole sourcing lesson. I give you all the peptide companies that I trust. Some of them I have discount codes for, so you don't have to pay full price. And I have suppliers in Canada and the States and Australia and the United Kingdom and the EU. I think I got everybody. Every single company I recommend, I have met with and I have spoken to literally on camera or on the phone. These are not random companies that you can Google and just find. These are companies that do third-party testing, that do testing for endotoxins, that have very pure peptides. Because I'm sure, as so many of you guys know, there are so many garbage peptide companies on the market now. Creatine. So creatine is fantastic, helps with energy a lot. And I, especially postpartum, I wish I had started creatine earlier. It's one of those things. It's about 5 grams a day. 5 grams? Yes, 5 grams a day, and can be really helpful if you are feeling that energy dip. Where do you get your peptides? Yes, was just talking about that. You can go through a compounding pharmacy. You do have to get a prescription if you go through that route. It's different per country for that, though. So the peptide suppliers that I use are private companies. Everyone buys their own peptides. That's separate. If we want to try out just one product just to start, do we have that option? The topical peptides or the nasal spray of C-Link you mentioned. Where do you source your peptides from? Okay, I just talked about this. Yeah, you can start with as many as you want. You could start with one, like you could start with the nasal spray of C-Link and see how you feel. That's a very, very gentle approach. The nasal, in general, the nasal peptides out there are effective, but they're not as effective as the subcutaneous ones, the ones that you inject. So just know that. Like, just know it might help you feel better, but you would probably feel even better if you were to actually buy like the vial. There you go. You guys see that? There you go. The vial and reconstitute it and take it. Brand for creatine, so many of them out there with garbage in them. What is the one I'm taking right now? I think the one I'm taking is called Mind Body, and it's great. It actually comes in little sachets, and it's, you just add it to water. Please put your other questions here. I don't want to miss anyone else's questions. I am open to it. The other question I did want to talk about that came through email is on angiogenesis and cancer risk and peptides. So this is something you might see kind of circulating online of the potential of specific peptides and the risk for cancer. Now, this comes from peptides like BPC 157, which is amazing for gut health and inflammation, causing angiogenesis. And angiogenesis is the formation of new blood vessels from old blood vessels. There is zero clinical data and zero clinical evidence or trials or anything that says any of these peptides have any link to cancer. When people talk about that, it's theoretical because people think, oh, you're taking something to induce the creation of more cells. But what happens if you have cancerous cells? Are you now going to be making more of those cancerous cells? That's all it is. It's only theory. There is no data or clinical trials behind it at all. I would say probably in the next couple of years, we will have more data on that and information on that. But there is a lot of BBC benefit and like so much, especially if you have injuries or if you're healing from birth or a C-section. Wow, BBC is incredible for that. And my recommendation is there's more benefit from it than the potential of that harm. And it's different if you have a cancer history in your family or you've had cancer yourself. So it's kind of a case by case basis if that's the situation with my clients. So I hope that clears that up. Okay. I have an autoimmune disease, PBC, liver disease. Can I take peptides? Yes. Yeah. The one peptide that I know that people talk about a lot for autoimmune, actually, there's a couple. Thymosin, is it thymosin alpha 1? Yeah. That one is really great for the immune system. And so if you like when you join my program, you'll actually see there's a whole lesson on that. And it talks about the link to autoimmune disease and issues there. And the other one that can, I would do something, well, I guess it depends on what your goals are. You could do something like KPV and BPC 157, which is what I just talked about. But typically, when I talk to women who have an autoimmune disease, I ask if they are having a flare up or not. If you're having a flare up, the recommendations are different than if you're not having a flare up to lose weight and anti aging. Yeah. So if you're having a flare, you want to be more cautious of what you're taking during that time. But if you're not having a flare up, there's more leniency there for you to take a lot of these peptides. Yeah, no flare. Weight loss, a lot of people want to know about weight loss. Depends on when I talk about weight loss or it's, body composition now, I think that it depends on your life stage, depends on your age, and depends on how much weight you're talking about. So women who are in their cycling years before perimenopause or menopause, there is quite a lot you can do there. There's some great peptides, things like MOTS-c, which I talked about. AOD is good as well. And those two are the kind of ones that I like to recommend. If you're older or you're in perimenopause or menopause or postmenopause, there are other ones as well that can be really great and other things you can do to increase your growth hormone again and be able to work on, kind of leveling out your hormone levels and benefiting from that as well, increasing your metabolism. It's just different. Like once we hit the perimenopause state, which is typically early 40s to mid 40s is when it starts, with the decline in estrogen and also like for perimenopause, estrogen does this, right? Like it goes up and down, up and down. It's like kind of 10 years of turmoil. You want to look at things a lot differently than you would before that. My mom, so for example, my mom, she's postmenopausal. And right now she is on tesamorelin, which is great because it increases growth hormone. We want to increase growth hormone because that helps her have more energy, put on muscle, maintain muscle, and it helps with visceral fat specifically. So for me, someone who's much younger than her, it doesn't make sense for me to take tesamorelin because I actually don't want to touch my growth hormone levels right now at all, especially if I'm going to have another kid with fertility, having a balanced menstrual cycle. That's not something that I would want to look at right now. So for me, I do MOTS-c or AOD, and that's kind of it when we talk about metabolism and body composition. Yes, tesamorelin. Yeah. So again, it really depends on your life stage, your goals, your age, and your specific everything that you're going through, right? Like, is it 20 pounds that you want to lose? Is it 5 pounds? It's very different. And then, of course, is your foundations. So, how much protein are you having? Are you exercising enough? Enough hydration, everything like that. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions? I'm just going to put the link to the program again. So we start on Monday, and I would love to have you join and be with us. If you are looking for a space that's made for mothers that talks about longevity and peptides, arguably, this is probably the only place on the internet, at least from what I've seen. It's still so male coded out there. And I would love to be able to support you. For everyone who has come live, it includes includes a one-on-one call with me. It is free for 30 minutes, and then I create the protocol for you. And the way that that works is you'll get a specific email from me, you'll be able to book, and then you'll have your intake form in there. And I did it that way so that we can go through your health and I can know everything oh, before we jump.
Right.
I'm just going to mute you before we jump on the call. So, like, if you've had a practitioner, it's very similar to that. Joni, okay, overall excellent health, but high cholesterol. Will not take statins. Okay. We do talk about that as well, is like the labs, right? And how can you get more data on yourself so that you're able to understand what's going on? So high cholesterol, we would really want to look specifically at that, like the LDL, the HDL, the total cholesterol. What are all the other biomarkers that are related to that as well? So I love to look at like inflammation, overall inflammation, blood glucose levels, insulin levels, and so forth. So, I do have different companies that I recommend people get tested with in terms of like running their lab data as well. And when I say that, it's at home. So I do tests that, get delivered to your house. You prick your finger, it's a blood test, and then you send it and it's, you get the results back. And if you're in the States, there's so many amazing companies that do that. So much better than Canada. We have a couple, but the States has so many, like Function Health or 100 Health is really great if you want to get more lab data like that. Okay. Thank you guys for being here. This was awesome. I am so excited about this. Just booked. Miriam, I'm so happy to hear that. I cannot wait. And yeah, because you booked and you're here live, I'm going to be chatting to you next week. I cannot wait to hear more about your health. And yeah, I'm so excited. Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to answer all our questions, for providing us mamas with all this valuable information. Exactly. I just wanted to create a space for you. I wish I had this a year ago. And I just want to be able to, yeah, support moms. I think moms need more support than anybody. You are leaders in your families, you're leaders in your communities, and your health deserves the attention and the energy that it deserves. Like, let's pour into you so you can carry everything else better. Thank you, Brittany. Yeah, you're welcome, Janelle. Okay, bye, everyone. See ya.